Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 741B, and today's date is August 14th, 2015, and the title of this episode is U.S. places B-2 bombers in Guam to provoke China. Let's get right into the economic collapse geopolitical news. Now, out in Nigeria, we understand the U.S. wants to get into Nigeria. We understand that Nigeria has a very close relationship with China. They have a lot of oil. The U.S. wants to get into any of those countries that Russia or China are in. And we see Russia right now has made a deal with Nigeria to build the first nuclear plant in 2016. And they're going to launch construction very soon. So we know for a fact that the U.S. is doing whatever they possibly can. They use terror. They use whatever they need to do to get into these African countries, because they don't want China and Russia making deals in these countries. They want a foothold in these countries to try to push them out. That's their whole plan. Now, in Ukraine, we understand Ukraine is continually getting their gas reserves from Slovakia. They cut off the supplies from Russia back in July. That was July 1st. And Ukraine right now just increased their natural gas reserves from Slovakia 1.5 times. Now, why would they do this? Because we know we're coming out of August. Winter will be coming. They're filling up their gas tanks. We understand they're pushing an offensive. And they're doing whatever they possibly can to start the war again. They're not even abiding by the Minsk 1 or 2 ceasefire deal. We see U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has expressed his grave concern over escalating violence in Ukraine. And he's saying that Sergei Lavrov needs to help out here and stop the southeastern people from doing this. Well, Kiev is the aggressor. Kiev needs the southeastern region. There is no reason why the southeastern people need to go attack Kiev, because we have to remember, before the Minsk 2 agreement, they were already winning. They were pushing the soldiers further and further back. They were almost into Mariupol. There is absolutely no reason for the southeastern people to start another battle, because if they really wanted land, they would have taken it. And we can see this is complete propaganda to start this entire war up again. And we see that Ukraine has been trying to kick out the OSCE in the Donbass region. They're doing whatever they possibly can, because why? They want to bring in peacekeepers, because basically they want to impose martial law. And this was kind of confirmed from Ukraine, from Kiev, saying Ukraine will impose martial law if the situation in Donbass aggravates. And this is coming from the National Security Council in Ukraine. If Russia fails the Minsk agreements, no doubt we shall respond according to the challenges the country will be facing. We shall have to impose the martial law and have a bigger mobilization of the entire potential in the country. So they're already planning on this. They're getting prepared and readied. Now, out in Poland, the new Polish president, he has called on NATO countries to deploy more troops, as well as create a new permanent military base in his country, and other Central Europe, saying Poland does not want to be just a buffer zone. And he's saying that we don't want to be a buffer zone, we want to be the real eastern flank of the alliance. So we need more troops in this area. I mean, NATO right now is refuting claims that it's gearing up for war with Russia. Well, they're having all these military exercises. They're using Russia as why they're having these military exercises. And when we look at this, we can see that the United States and NATO have been bringing in more troops. NATO has set up a rapid reaction team to go after Russia when needed. Tanks, armored vehicles are being placed into caves all throughout Eastern Europe. Of course they're setting up and preparing for war. And we know the United States is continually provoking Russia and China. The U.S. decided they're going to place 3 B-2 stealth bombers in Guam. The Anderson Air Force Base in Guam, they're going to place these B-2 bombers. Now, of course, China looks at this and says, okay, they can deliver a nuclear weapon or other type of weapons in this bomber. And they're saying, yeah, this is a provocation, because they will have the ability to launch a nuclear strike if necessary. And the B-2 poses a serious threat to the national security of China. This is what the United States does. The United States government central bankers, what they do, and I used this example before, but those people who are new, it's like when you're in high school and you're walking down the hall and the bully pokes you. Day 1. Day 2, you walk down the hall, the bully pokes you. You don't do anything. Day 3, you walk down the hall, the bully pokes you. Day 4, you can't take it anymore. So before the bully pokes you, you lash out. And the teachers who are on hall duty never saw the poking. They only saw the lash out and the fight. And they blame it on this kid because the bully says he just came out of nowhere and attacked me. And this is what we're seeing right now. All these little moves are the poke. And soon, which they're hoping that China or Russia or North Korea or Iran or Syria will lash out and start the war. And if they don't, guess what? They'll make it look like they did. And we've seen that before many, many times, and that's called a false flag event. Now, the NORAD commander, Admiral Bill Gortney, he's saying that the missile defense strategy is not going to work. The missiles that they have are too expensive. They're not worth the money. They don't work all the time. And they're proposing a new type of system. And the way it's going to work is NORAD could consider organizing a global network for quickly transmitting targeted data across various militaries and branches. And the second phase of that involves a strategy known as left of launch. Using targeted data, NORAD could identify incoming missiles before they're launched and initiate a preemptive attack on launch installations. So you can see what they're doing right now. They understand the weaponry of China and Russia are, in many cases, more advanced than what the United States has at this point in time, because the intercept system is basically based on a ballistic missile following a preset path. The missiles from Russia and China, they don't have to be on a preset path. They can move, they can divert, and the system right now cannot hit them. This is the main problem. And this is why they want to hit these launch silos before the missiles even are launched from them. And we can see at this point in time, if we do go to war, I shouldn't even say if, it's a matter of when, because we could see what's happening around the world. This is not a fight like in Iraq, in Yemen. These are advanced actors. They have real weapons. They have nuclear weapons. But again, the central bankers, they don't care. They know the system's coming down. They know eventually they're going to have to say, you know what? We're going to turn towards war. And this is what they've been planning all along. And this is what we've been tracking. This is what we've been seeing. And we can see that it is continually accelerating. Now we see the Syrian National Coalition leader has met with Russia. They're talking about peace. They're trying to work something out right now. And Russia right now is focusing on Syria's territorial integrity in efforts to help a political settlement so we don't have to go to war. And the Syrian opposition leader basically wants one thing: the resignation of Assad. Now, we saw this back when they had the Geneva II talks with the Syrian opposition and John Kerry. The only thing that was on the table was the resignation of Assad. He cannot be part of this new government. And of course, Russia is trying to calm the situation down. And of course, the United States government central bankers, the coalition forces, They're gearing up for war. And they're using propaganda all over the place. They're continually saying that Assad is using barrel bombs. They're saying that he's continually doing this. They're even saying, and this, when you first hear it, it sounds like, oh, look, the U.S. is investigating the Islamic State because they're using some type of chemical weapons on the Kurdish forces. But when you really look into it, what the U.S. is saying is that the Islamic State got chemical weapons, mustard gas, which they're saying they're using, from Assad. They got it from Syria. So what they're doing is they're making the link saying Assad must have mustard gas. And this is where the Islamic State is getting it from. They're not saying this is a terrible thing that the Islamic State is doing. They're trying to pin it on Assad. This is the link they're trying to make. Now, of course, do they have evidence? No, they do not. But they don't care about evidence. They're saying that they know that he had it back in 2013. This was part of his arsenal. And they're trying to make the connection right now. And we understand, at this point in time, their goal is always the same. It could be with peace talks. It could be with war. It's to remove Assad and take the entire country. They want the port in Syria. They want the natural resources. They want the central bank. They want to build a pipeline. And they know eventually they're going to have to push the authorization for war. And they know they're going to have to use the Islamic State to push this. And we're going to see a false flag event. And we can see they used the propaganda that the Islamic State has hit the Western government data, stole some data. And of course, they hit, American, British, Australian, and they got their information. And when you look at this, it's always surface information. Actually, most of this they probably got from doing searches on Google, which are already, public out there, and they're probably just using it. They never find real information when they say they're cyber attacking, because most of this is propaganda. And what they're saying is they're taking this information of about 1,400 individuals, and they're making a hit list of certain Western government people. Now think about this. The Islamic State is creating a hit list. The authorization for war is pending in Congress. They're trying to scare the government officials into pushing the authorization for war. This is what this is all about. Because right now it has no traction. And the authorization for war, and I said this many times, allows the U.S. government central bankers to go after the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, or any other terrorist organization in any country. So if the Islamic State is creating a hit list and something maybe happens, maybe they will take one of them out, Congress then will say, okay, we need to pass this. That could be the event. There also could be an event where there's an explosion of some type, maybe in Washington or in New York, near government officials, to scare them into pushing the authorization for war. If that doesn't work, the events will get larger and larger. Because we know they are running out of time. This system is collapsing. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.